Welcome to Talkin' Mets with Rob. Subscribe to the channel for all your New York Mets in-game live, pre-game, post-game, roundtable podcast, and all the breaking news for our New York Mets. Enjoy the show and let's go Mets.
City lights in the dead of night, full of echo. Concrete jungle, trees bust to grow. Mets in the air, chase glory, no fear. Broken backs, but hearts steer clear. OMG, the chaos, what a scene. Streets buzzing like a machine. Grimace from the shadows, chills on my spine. Past haunts, the future shine. Comebacks in the night, keep dreams alive. Fighting tooth and nail just to survive. City's heartbeat echoes in our chant. Grit and glory is all we want. Brooklyn to Queens, hear the roar. From laughter to blood in every scar. Living legends made on this ground. From silence we scream, make a sound. Rising high, falling low, repeat again. Cycles of the game, addicted to the pen. Graffiti tales spray on the wall. Met saga, forever stand tall. Rivals smear, but we push on through. Every heartbeat bleeds, orange and blue. Grimace fades, turn into a storm. In the Mets family, we are reborn.
You are now watching the amazing Mets PreGame Show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets PreGame Show right here on the channel and, of course, on X. How are you doing, Mets fans? We are finally here for a very, very important game. Game 6 in LA. Manaea on the mound against Michael Kopech for the Dodgers, as the Dodgers do play a bullpen game today. How is everybody doing? Hopefully you're doing okay, Mets fans. I know a few hours before the game, you start talking about it, you start getting nervous, you're starting to think about the game, think about the lineup, think about the pitching matchup, and everything else that comes with a postseason game. So good news is that we got game 6. As Hector always says, there's a game to play, there's a game to win. And that's all the Mets have to do. Play one game at a time. As I seen somebody say that there is in the chat, I think somebody said they're from Guam. Anthony, yes, Anthony, listening in from Guam. That is awesome. Anthony, Guam, awesome. That's pretty cool. That is awesome. We got, yep, I see everybody in the chat right now. Everybody's pumped up, ready to go. Already got 120 in the stream. Met fans are pumped up, and I think Met fans are somewhat confident, right? I put up a poll yesterday on the Mets Talk Live stream asking people how confident you were about game 6. I said very confident, somewhat confident, not confident at all, and the confident definitely is much higher. You know, very confident was the leader, and somewhat confident is the second in number 2. And number 3 was not very confident. So the Mets team's got to make you believe a little bit. I mean, backs against the wall. The Dodgers had blown you out basically in the first 2 games at home, and you come back and you beat up on the Dodgers in an elimination game where, you know, It didn't look good in the top of the first, did it? But the Mets found a way to get out of that jam. Well, David Peterson found a way to get out of that jam in the first inning, and the Mets took off right after that with starting off with the Pete Alonso home run. And they took off the rest of the game. Marte had a hell of a game. It was just an outstanding game. It was a team effort, right? That's what you need to win ball games in the postseason, right? It's very rare that one individual guy basically takes over an entire game. You got to win. You got to win with an entire team effort. And the Mets got to do it again today, and it starts with Sean Manaea tonight, guys, and we all know that, right? There's no secret about this, right? The pitching matchup does favor the New York Mets, right? I know how good the Dodger bullpen has been, but again, you can get length from Sean Manaea. If he is on, he will give you length. It only takes one pitcher to mess up the plan of Dave Roberts. And if that happens, we saw what happened in game 2, right? He makes a panic move. He makes a decision that probably is not very favorable amongst Dodger fans, and he kind of can let the game get away from him. And there was a lot of Dodger fans at the game too that wasn't very happy with Dave Roberts and his decision making in them first 2 innings, and it led to a 6-0 lead for the New York Mets. So it can quickly unravel when you have a bullpen game, because you need, in a bullpen game, to make it the way they want it and the plan to go right, everything has to go as planned. Everything. And I think the more you get into the game, and it's still a game that is close, even if it's a tie game or you're down a run, up a run, I think it favors the Mets, because look already, you already put in I was a little shocked that Michael Kopech is starting this game as a bullpen guy. This is the guy who is a late inning leverage guy, high leverage guy. I'm a little shocked by that. Now I understand the premise of, all right, maybe we can definitely get it in. We're going to hopefully get an inning from him, possibly 2. With his dominating stuff, try to quickly shut down the Mets in the first inning or 2. That's probably the plan for when it comes to Dave Roberts. But again, Michael Kopech, I mean, he's been outstanding in this postseason, but it's going to be very interesting, because if it doesn't work, I wonder what Dave Roberts is going to do. Again, the bullpen games are not easy to manage. Like, this is not a situation where, I think Dave Roberts can mess it up. I mean, he's been known to do it, but bullpen games are not easy to manage in a game, especially in a postseason game, especially in a game 6. So again, this is by no means saying that the Dodgers can't shut down the Mets. Absolutely they can. But I feel good going into this game, right? Am I going to say overly confident? No, because that's not fair to the Dodgers and the respect of how they played in this series. But they are, it's amazing. A team that spent $1 billion this year can't put out a starter every game. It's crazy to me. Injuries or not. All right, the Mets had injuries as well, pitch wise. So and they found a way to have starters available. I'm not saying they're gonna have ace type guys in every game in the postseason, but it's very interesting that they couldn't find one person or at least another pitcher that can actually give you 5 innings. I mean, the guy who they basically sent to the Wolves in this series has been Honeywell. And he, for the most part, he's actually pitched pretty okay, considering the fact that Dave Roberts put him out there to die. But it's gonna be a crazy game. It's gonna be an interesting game. There has not been one close game in this series, and why wouldn't today be, right? Who knows, right? I said it yesterday's show that I think today's gonna be the close game. Again, make everybody have to sweat it out. But I do think, excuse me, still getting over the flu, guys. I apologize for that. We still gotta, excuse me. I think it's gonna be a close game, right? I feel that. I feel like in a game that gets, it's extremely close, right? You're in game 6 right now. I think both teams are going to be a little bit more careful than the aggressiveness they have shown each team in this series that either hurt them or help them in this series. So I think that they're going to be a little bit more careful. in situations, right? I don't think, and I think Mendoza's talking about this. Dave Roberts is talking about this with their team. You can be aggressive, but don't be over aggressive where, it's less than a 50% chance that you can get a runner at second base. It's similar to what Alvarez did, trying to get the lead runner in the first inning. Like, you just don't do that early in the second inning, early in the game. You get the out. You got a whole game to go. I think the aggressive part of both teams, cost them in this series a couple of games. Like, I truly believe that, right? One or two, less aggressive decisions could have made a difference in a ball game. Could have not let a game get out of hand, as you've seen almost every game in the series get out of hand. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think that Sean Manaea will pitch well. I would love to get him to the sixth inning if we can do that. Again, the Dodgers have been doing a great job with the Mets and the pitcher's pitch count. That has been one of the storylines, in my opinion, when it comes to the Dodgers. Is they have not chased a lot in this series, right? That's been the one thing that has been very interesting. Excuse me. With the Dodgers, is that they've been getting the Mets starters out, before the sixth inning. And as we know, a lot of our starters, Severino, Manaea, even Peterson, and even Quintana, were going deep into ball games, and they have not in this series yet. Even though in game 2, Manaea pitched well, but he couldn't get past that sixth inning. And I think we need that tonight from Sean Manaea. Now, that doesn't mean that the Mets can't score runs, but I would like to get Manaea to the sixth inning. I think it works better when it comes to our bullpen, right? It shortens our bullpen, which is obviously what we need, right? And again, when you got a bullpen game, as the Dodgers do, I truly believe if you have one guy who messes up, it's going to mess up the plan, right? Dave Roberts clearly has a plan in place. All right, this guy's going 1 inning, this guy's going 2, this guy's going 2, this guy's going 1. If you have to mess that up a little bit, that can cause issues with the plan. And with him already starting Kopech in the beginning of the game, I get the premise, I get the idea, right? You're one of your best guys who has been shut down in this postseason, throw him in the first inning or two, and hopefully your offense gets going early, and you're already out to a lead early in the game, and Kopech can shut you down. But if he doesn't, or even if he does, and the Dodgers don't score either, you lose one of your high leverage guys later in the ball game. And I know they have other guys to do that, but that's one less person Dave Roberts can go to and trust later in the ball game. So, again, sorry guys, I do apologize. I am still getting over the flu, and my throat and everything else is going on. I got my good old tea here in my Mets home run apple cup. But if I keep on clearing my throat, I do apologize. I know that's probably not the best audio that you need in this pregame right now, but I do apologize for that. Well, Envy, even if I don't want to give Roberts plan, I'm not naive enough to think that there's not other coaches and guys that I think that can do the job. Again, if you look back, some of the coaches were 2015 Mets coaches. So I don't think Dave Roberts is a very good in-game manager, and I think a lot of Dodger fans can agree with that. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't know how to put a plan together. I think he does know how to do that. I think that he makes rational decisions when the plan doesn't go, when his plan that he had in place pregame doesn't work out in game. I don't think he's very good at, making decisions in game. And, as soon as the plan doesn't, set up perfectly for him, I think that's when he runs into problems. And he has not really had to do that this series, because let's be honest, every one of these games have been basically, for the most part, blowouts. So there wasn't really a tough decision for, Roberts to make those decisions. Like, if you really go even in game 5, right? that was an easy decision to let Jack Flaherty, hang out there to dry and, get pummeled for 8 runs, right? If, that's an elimination game for the Mets, right? If the Dodgers won game 5, if he would have took him out earlier and limit the damage, maybe the Dodgers come back and win that game, right? But it seemed like Dave Roberts was more concerned about game 6 and the bullpen guys that he didn't want to use in game 5 because of the bullpen game in game 6. Now, can that come back to bite him? Maybe, but again, if you won in game 5, you would have all these days off until the World Series on October 25th, on Friday. So, I don't think he was between a rock and a hard place. I think he played that game. I think he played that game to lose, to be quite honest with you. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't like a manager to do that. Right. I know what Teoscar Hernandez says after the game, where he was like, "Oh, well, we want to celebrate in front of our fans." Come on. There's no player. Obviously, every professional player wants to celebrate in front of their fans to win a pennant. Right. We know that. But there was an opportunity to clinch a pennant there and not have to worry about a game 6, because anything can happen in these ball games. We all know that. We've seen it many times. The Mets, the Dodgers, we've seen, the craziness that happens in postseason. It takes one error. It takes one bad pitch. It takes, one big swing, and it can change everything in a ball game in the postseason. So I just feel like, when you have a chance to clinch it, I feel like Dave Roberts kind of shied away to winning that game, even though that game, look, the Dodgers scored 6 runs. I mean, Page scored 5 of them, but they scored 6 runs. Right? What if you would have held the Mets to 5 runs for the most part with Flaherty, and you would have took him out an inning earlier before we gave up a couple of more runs? Right? If that was game 3 or 4, he might have took him out. But because it was game 5 and knowing he had to go to a bullpen game in game 6 because he has no other choice, he let Flaherty go out there, to basically, even when he wasn't feeling well, to put more pitches out there and keep him out there. And I never liked that type of management. I think when you can put a team away, you put a team away because you don't want to give a team life. And I'm not saying that the Mets got that life back where they can win the next 2 games, right? I don't think momentum shifts from game to game. I think momentum shifts in game more than it does game to game. So, again, it might not backfire. It might just, it might work out in the Dodgers' favor, right? But there's a reason why we play the game, right? We don't play this game on paper. So it's very, very interesting. And it's look, this is why postseason baseball is fun, right? Because that decision to leave Flaherty in, not trying to basically, I'm not saying Dave Roberts kind of gave up on the game, but he did the exact same thing in game 2, right? Dodger fans had a problem with it. What happened? He put in Honeywell, who was one of the last men on the roster because of an injury, and, put Honeywell out there, and everybody's like, well, this game is still in hand. What are you doing? Even though Honeywell pitched 4 really good innings and shut the Mets down, it basically almost was a no contest. Same thing like yesterday, or the game before in game 5. He put in Honeywell, and it's like, all right, and Honeywell gave up a couple of runs. So, he did it in game 2, and then he did it in game 5. So it's like, geez, like, what are you doing here? But again, because, obviously game 2, obviously with the Mets, you wanted to take one of the games at Dodger Stadium in game 1 or 2, one of those games, because that's the goal, because you got 3 games back at home, right? But I always feel like when you got to put a team away, you do it, right? I don't like playing with fire. I don't care if you're the better team. You just don't do that, because if the Mets find a way to win today, game 7 is a crapshoot, and everybody knows it, right? Game 7, anything can happen, right? There's not one person that believed that the Arizona Diamondbacks was going to beat the Philadelphia Phillies in a game 7, especially 2 games at Philadelphia when they were down 3-1. So it can happen. Just because you're the better team doesn't mean that it's just gonna happen for you because you're the better team. We've seen it many times before in the postseason. And this is not me saying that, the Mets are gonna, win in game 6 and then all of a sudden game 7 is kind of a no contest. Mets are gonna win. No, right? I'm gonna feel very confident going into game 7 where both teams' backs are against the wall and the pressure is solely on the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think the pressure is on the Dodgers today. There is no pressure on the Mets. The Mets have done their job, right? What you didn't want is the Dodgers to celebrate on your home field, right? That doesn't mean that the Mets are going to lay down in game 6. But they were able to win game 5 to get their ace back on the mound for game 6. And I would have been really pissed off if the Mets would have lost in 5 and Manaea only got 1 start in this NLCS. That would have pissed me off to no end. And I would have had a lot of bad things to say about Mendoza in this series because he hasn't done a good job in this series. And I kind of think the Mets kind of saved his ass in game 5, to be quite honest with you, when he finally actually did the right thing with the lineup in game 5, when he should have done it in game 3. So game 6 is about an hour and a half away. We got Manaea on the mound, Kopech on the mound. I want to get into this lineup because it's exactly the same lineup in game 5. And why would you change it, right? I know there was some Met fans I saw on X, and I was talking to a couple of my friends as well. Excuse me. That, some people are like, oh, is he going to not put McNeil in? Is he going to put Iglesias in? Again, I wouldn't have been completely wrong with that, been mad about that, because I think Iglesias just needed the day off, to be quite honest with you. I know it was, an elimination game in game 5, but it just felt like, his bat was, a little slow. It looked like he was just tired. But you know what? You go back to what was working in game 5, right? Doesn't mean it's going to work in game 6. But again, you're going with your best guys out there. And no Mets fan will be mad. I mean, of course, we'll be upset if we lose today. But I'd rather go with the guys that got us there. I want to go down with the best lineup. We got our ace on the mound, and we got our best lineup out there. If we go down, I'd rather go down swinging with the best guys on the mound and in the lineup. And that's what Mendoza is doing today. And if we lose, damn it, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm not going to be happy in this post game. Season's over. But at least we went out with the best lineup and our best pitcher on the mound. There's nothing more than I want than having the best guys out there on the field in an elimination game. Because if you lose, you give credit to the other team. That's it. I'm not going to go over here and lose the game and make excuses. Now, I'll recap the game and tell you where I think the Mets lost the game if they lost, but I also will recap the game if the Mets win and tell you where they won the game. So I think that Tony, who will LA start in game 7? I think it's going to be Walker Buehler. Again, I don't see Yamamoto coming on 3 days rest. Obviously, it can't be Flaherty, and they're doing a bullpen game today. And that's the other thing. That's why this is probably more. I think this is a must win for LA. I know they got a little bit of breathing room of game 7, but if they somehow lose this game and use a lot of their high leverage guys in game 6, Walker Buehler is not going more than 5 innings. We all know that. He already did that in this series. What did he go, 4? Like that's a problem within itself. If the Mets get past game 6, that's why I think this is a must win for the Dodgers. Not saying that they can't win game 7. I'm not saying that at all. But it's going to make it that much harder for Dave Roberts to make a decision because of Walker Buehler. There is no tomorrow after game 7. We all know that. Somebody's going home. So I think Walker Buehler is going to be the game 7 starter. Unless they change it, unless they do something different, I don't know. But that's what I believe. All right. So with the lineup, right, we've seen the same lineup in game 5 as we do in game 6. No changes at all. It's the exact same lineup. The people playing the exact same positions, right? You still got Winker as a DH. You got Jeff McNeil at second base, right? You got everybody you need. You got Marte in right. You got Vientos at third, Nimmo in left. Shortstop is obviously Francisco Lindor. Alvarez behind the plate, who finally came alive in Game 5 and didn't try to do too much and made sure that he would take a base hit. He worked the count. Good signs from him. Again, let's see if he can do it in Game 6. That would be great. But if Alvarez gets going, this lineup is that much more deeper than they were in the first 4 games of this series. So that's a good sign for the Mets as well. So make sure, guys, you hit on that like button. And I'm just gonna go through the comments really quick because I've been looking at them. I haven't been putting them up, but I'm looking at them. You know, I've seen you guys, so I've just put that as topics as well. Excuse me, guys. Mr. Nova, I agree with you. Look, that's the shitty part of not having home field advantage, right? You know, there hasn't been a 9th inning where, you know, you have to completely sweat it out because it's a really close game. And, you know, one swing in the back can end your season, you know, in the 9th inning. So, again, that hasn't really been the case. Yeah, it would be scary if that's the case. But, you know, the Mets put themselves in that position by winning a wild card and not being having one of the best records. So that's on the Mets. Nothing they can do about it now. They just have to overcome it. Well, Maddie, yeah, I agree with you. I think the Dodgers will start Walker Buehler, and yeah, you can say that Yamamoto should be ready, but again, these guys are coming back from injury, right? I know that, you know, we don't give a damn, right? It's all hands on deck, but I don't. These managers or these teams are so deadly afraid of hurting these guys, especially a guy like Yamamoto. But I mean, I think it would be all hands on deck. I mean, if you're a Dodger fan, you would hope so, right? So there should be a starter ready to go after Walker Buehler, because if Walker Buehler doesn't have it, you need a long man. You need somebody out there. And, you know, it's not like Yamamoto is a guy that has been shown to come out of the bullpen, even if he has to pitch 4 innings or 3 innings, right? So you don't know how that's going to work out in that way. I know that I know this for a fact. In Game 7, David Peterson will be available to pitch 1, 2, maybe 3 innings. I can guarantee you that. That's going to piggyback after Severino, right? You also got Kodai Senga as well. And Kodai Senga could be an option today, depending on what Sean Manaea does, right? You have to have that. You have to have Senga available just in case Manaea doesn't have it, right? Peterson can't go. He pitched 2 days ago. So he won't be available today. He'll probably be available for Game 7, as Game 7 will be his throw day. And he could probably throw between 20 to 30 pitches. But Senga is going to be at the ready today, right? Just like if he's not used today and the Mets win, he'll be ready for Game 7 just in case. Yeah, Ken, I don't want to bring up Game 7 like it already is happening. But I don't think they're going to do that, right? The opportunity was Game 5 if you really wanted to do it, right? I don't think you're going to do it in Game 7. You can't let a first inning get away. I mean, Severino can, you know, have an inning get away from him too, and then we're like, uh-oh. But yeah, I'm not concerned about Game 7, you know, worrying about our pitching matchup. We know right now at this point that if there is a Game 7, Severino is slotted in as the probable starter for Game 7 if we get there. All right, I'm just continuing to look at the lineups, guys. Sorry again, guys. I keep on clearing my throat. You know, under the weather right now for like 4 days now, and it's pissing me off. Taking all my damn energy. Envy, I agree with you 100% with that, right? You got to make the pitchers throw, right? And Kopech, look, as good as he's been, he has problems throwing strikes. If he's a little bit wild, you can take advantage of that, right? Work those counts, take the walk, right? These are relievers, right? They don't like pitching from the stretch, right? Some of them pitch from the stretch. I believe Kopech pitches from the stretch, but they don't like runners on, right? You got to put the pressure on them, right? These are relievers. You know, the Mets actually hit the Dodger bullpen more than the Padres did. It's not saying much, but they have. So you got, again, MV said it. You got to make him throw pitches. You can't beat yourself. These are relievers here. They're not throwing 60 pitches. Right? I will be shocked if Kopech throws more than 25 pitches. I don't think he can go more than 2 innings. I don't think he will. I mean, maybe Dave Roberts is pitching him 1 inning. I think that's a big no-no for me, right? I'm not sure why you would start one of your best higher leverage guys in the first inning, but hey, it could work out and make me have egg on my face, right? But yeah, I think that you got to work the count, right? Kopech is a guy that could lose the plate a little bit. He got nasty stuff. We all know that. He's been outstanding in this postseason. But again, prior to this year, in this postseason, he's had nearly an 8 ERA in the postseason, right? I know, career-wise and now doesn't mean nothing because he's been damn good. But he is a guy that can lose the plate a little bit, and the Mets have to exploit that. Right? If you can, you will. Right? Turn the tables. How about our walks? Hurt them. That seems to be in the game plan for the Dodgers. Right? Let the Mets walk 55 people, and we'll capitalize on it. Yeah, Jen. Yeah, I know no Freddie Freeman today, but again, there was no Freddie Freeman in game 3, and the Dodgers beat the hell out of us, right? I don't think that's obviously he's a Mets killer, but again, there's more than enough guys in this lineup that can do damage, and they don't need Freddie Freeman to win a game, even though he would help a lot. But yeah. Again, it's going to come down to execution, right? Manaea's got to execute. He did it in game 2, and he needs to do it again, right? We can't have anything but a really good start for Manaea. Anything less than that, the Mets are going to be in trouble, right? This is not sugarcoating anything. This is not me being a biased Mets fan. If Sean Manaea is less than really good, the Mets are going to have a real problem winning this ballgame. At the very least, we need really good 5 innings from him. I want 6, but I would take really good 5 innings from him. But anything less than that, I think the Mets will be in trouble. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Right? I have no problem telling you guys how I feel, even if you don't agree. I feel like Manaea needs to be really good today. And if the Mets can jump out early, even better. Put the pressure right back on the Dodgers. Yeah, Robert, he was a starter, but that was a while ago, right? That was with the White Sox. That was a couple of years ago. Like, it's a whole new ballgame when you haven't thrown 60 pitches, shoot 45 pitches or more in a couple of years. That's a huge difference, right? They made him a reliever because he couldn't stay healthy. 2, after a couple of innings, the miles per hour went down. His pitches weren't as sharp. So, usually relievers are failed starters, right? That doesn't mean that he isn't a great reliever. He is. But I don't think they're going to pitch him more than 25. I'd be shocked if they pitch him more than 25 pitches. So, if the Mets find a way, if the Mets find a way to get to Kopech early, you might get him out of the game before he even throws 25 pitches, right? Obviously, that's the goal. But again, when it comes to a bullpen game, I don't care if you're the best bullpen in Major League Baseball. I don't care if you're one of the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball. If you're playing a bullpen game, you can't have anything go wrong. If you have one pitcher not do their job, it messes up the entire plan. And that's what the Mets have to do, right? Keep the game close. Keep the game in hand. If you have a lead, even better. But all you got to do is get to one of these guys. You get to one of these guys, the plan is damaged. The plan is messed up. And that's where you can get Dave Roberts to make a mistake. Let him put in a guy he doesn't want to put in. Right? He has every high leverage guy ready to go. But he has them in certain slots. If he has to change that because somebody didn't do their job, that's a problem for the Dodgers. Right? Especially if Manaea pitches well and puts up zeros against the Dodger lineup, which is not easy to do. But if he does that, that puts more and more pressure on Dave Roberts. That puts more and more pressure on the Dodgers. Again, the Mets are not going into this game with any pressure. They didn't go into this game in Game 5 with any pressure. I said that. There is no pressure. I always talk about, we talked about house money. I'm not going to go far as that because when you're in the NLCS, house money kind of goes out the window. But this is a situation where it's like we're facing the best team in baseball. They have the best record in Major League Baseball. We're taking them to a Game 6. 1, we weren't supposed to be here. 2, we weren't supposed to make the playoffs. And we've overcome so many obstacles this season and won games that nobody thought we can win. And they continue to do that. So it's like, to me, it's like, am I going to be nervous when the game starts? Absolutely, right? I'm a fan, right? Every pitch, every swing of the bat, I'm going to be like, oh, going crazy like I usually do, pacing. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of this team. And there is nothing that is going to make me, obviously, if the Mets lose today, I'm going to be upset and disappointed because I want the season to continue because I'm a fan. I want my team to win. But it will take a couple of days to, get over it. But once it does, I'm extremely proud of this team of what they've done. They got to this point as my song in the beginning of their stream, Grit and Glory. That's basically what they did. These are a lot of guys that a lot of teams did not want. In Manaea, in Severino, Bader. Like a lot of these guys were on prove it type of deals. And they not just only proved it this season, they went above and beyond. And this is great to see. But the story's not over yet until the final out in the 9th inning is done. And the Dodgers win. The story is not over until it is. Right? The Dodgers are trying to end that story. They're trying to close the book on us. The Mets are trying to keep it open and still chapters. That's what they're trying to do. Ken, you read my mind. I was just going to bring up Jeff McNeil, and I just saw your comment as I'm trying to catch up. There's over 200 people in this pregame, guys. So make sure you hit on that like button, guys. Again, I and Chris do not shy away from the losses, right? Our next loss is the end of our season. But me and Chris will be here. And Chris will be here for the post game. Just an FYI to everybody. Chris will be here for the post game. Win or lose, there will be a post game. So guys, if you hit that like button now, the more people are going to see the stream, the more people are going to get redirected to the post game. And again, guys, you don't have to go anywhere after the pregame stream is over. It's going to take you directly to the post game stream, where you make sure you hit that like button early. The more likes we get before that stream starts, the more people will see that stream at the top of the list. And that's where you want to be, guys. You want our instant reactions, win or lose. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. Win or lose, guys. We will be there after the game. Hopefully, we're talking about a Game 7. If not, we'll recap the game and, talk about the season. Talk about how much fun this season was for New York Mets fans, right? It'd be disappointing, but we'll see how the game goes, and hopefully we're talking about a Mets win. And Ken, you're 100% right. I think McNeil, he put a couple of good at-bats together, right? He was 0 for 3, but he had 2 sac flies, 2 RBIs. He had a couple of balls hard. He was squaring up balls as well, which is a good sign. I mean, would anybody be shocked if Jeff McNeil comes through? And why not, right? Remember when I talked about earlier in the season and, in the middle of the year, I talked about the supporting cast basically carried his team, the Tyrone Taylors, the Jeff McNeil, the a little bit of Alvarez, the bottom of the order, Bader at the time, at the bottom of the order before Alvarez got hurt. He was one of those guys, right? It was the supporting cast that was doing the job, the bottom of the order, that was carrying the top of the order that wasn't doing anything. Wouldn't it be fitting that in Game 6, the Mets can win a ball game and it has everything to do with the bottom of the order? Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, that would be a storybook chapter where the bottom of the order comes through in a Game 6, do or die, elimination game for the Mets. right? I do agree with you. I think McNeil's going to have a big game. Now, does that mean the Mets are going to win? No. But I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And I just like McNeil's approach, right? McNeil is not trying to hit home runs anymore, right? You've seen it in even the pinch hit appearance the other day, even in game 5, he wasn't trying to do too much, right? He's looked like the old Jeff McNeil with his swing, and I like that, right? Fouling off pitches, not making it easy for the pitcher. That's Jeff McNeil that we know. That's the Jeff McNeil that was a batting champion. Let's hope he has a big game for us and gets us to a game 7. All right, guys, I'm still looking at the comments. I'm trying to catch up here, guys. We had 215 at one point. We had 220. It's bouncing up and down to 180 to 220. So it's been an excellent pregame, guys, and it's been a lot of fun with you guys right now in the comments. So make sure you hit that like button, guys. Like button is extremely important. And, of course, you want to subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification button. We will come post-game, me and Chris, after the game, right after the final out. We'll be with you, win or lose. So make sure you tune into that tonight. And you're going to have to hear what we have to say, win or lose, right? If we win, we're going to be pumped. If we lose, it's going to be disappointing. It's going to be, it's not going to be the most exciting post-game, but we will be here. So make sure you tune in later tonight. All right, if you win tonight, who do we start? FaZe, I'm assuming you're talking about the Mets. The Mets, right now, it's Severino in Game 7. If you're talking about the Dodgers, I think it's going to be Buehler. It hasn't been determined. It hasn't been talked about. Hasn't been Roberts hasn't said it yet, but I think it's going to be Walker Buehler just by pure understanding about days off and rest for Buehler. Buehler will be on, I believe, exact regular day rest. Yamamoto won't be. Obviously, Flaherty won't be. And they're doing a bullpen game today. So I think it's going to be Buehler. All right, guys. I'm still looking at the comments. Give me a second. Frank says, get myself a bottle of Hennessy and drink. Yeah. Well, I would actually like to stay up and watch the game. If I have too much whiskey, I'm out for, it's going to be a very interesting stream. I tell you that. At the very least, but I would like to stay up. I like to be sober during the game. If I'm at the game, different story, right? You're gonna put down a few to calm the nerves a little bit. But when I'm at home, I like to sit back, calm myself a little bit and watch the game with my dad. Like that's where I want to be right now. So yeah, trust me, I'd love to do that, but I would actually like to know what the hell's going on during the game. Well, indeed, that's what I've been saying, right? I think that's the key to the Mets' success, right? The Dodgers, and you saw it in the Padres series, right? In Game 4, right? When everything works out and every guy's on point, you're going to have a game like you did in Game 4 in an elimination game for the Dodgers to take it to a Game 5, right? You need every guy to be on point because one guy doesn't do it. Now everybody gets pushed up. There might be a guy that you probably weren't expecting to use. You have to use. And that's where things get a little crazy because that's when Dave Roberts makes mistakes. Dave Roberts is not a very good in-game manager. He hasn't had to make very big decisions in this series because the games have been blowouts. So the goal here is keep the game in hand and get at least to one of these bullpen arms. Obviously, I would love to do it in the first inning because that really shakes up the apple cart for Dave Roberts, right? Come out right out of the gate and, really, throw a haymaker right away and make them panic. Make them panic. Make them make the mistakes. Right? I say this all the time, right? You know how many people, how the analytical people saying strikeouts don't matter? That is such the biggest pile of bull crap that I ever heard when it comes to baseball. There is nothing good coming out of strikeouts when you're on offense. I hate that with a passion. I'd rather you hit the ball and pop it up because there's always a chance a guy can lose it in the sun, lose it in the lights, whatever. Hit a ball on the ground, guy can make an error, right? Make them make the mistake. right? I hate that stat when people are like, oh, nobody cares about strikeouts when, more than half the league strikes out 200 times. It's like, are you kidding me? Right? The Mets didn't have a strikeout in Game 5. That's amazing in itself. Like, that's not even like old school stuff. That is just like impossible, and they did it. I'm not saying that's going to happen today, but put the bat on the ball. Make the defense of the Dodgers make a mistake, right? It takes, the ball getting directly in the sun, the outfielder can miss the ball, right? It can happen that quickly. So what I want to see the Mets to do to here is to put good at-bats together, right? If they're probably going to be strikeouts, but I'd rather you go down swinging than looking at a pitch. And I'm not talking about on a 3-2 pitch and the guy throws a hammer down at you and you're looking fastball. It's like, shit, what are you going to do there? It's a perfect, if it's a perfect pitch, what are you going to do? But what I want to see better at bats. I want to see counts work. I want to see long at bats. I want to see if the pitcher is, if it's in a pitcher's count, I want the batter to try to put the ball in play. You put the ball in play, things happen. Mistakes happen. There is nobody perfect here. You got to make sure you put the pressure on the Dodgers. And again, I love playing at home. But the benefit of an away team, right away, you get the first shot to throw the first haymaker. You come up in the top of the first, you can dictate the beginning of the game. That's the part I love about being on the road. You get the first at bat. You get to make the first possible problem that can start for the Dodgers. You can make the plan go kaput right away. That's what the Mets got to do today. You got to make sure you do your job, you stay in your lane, don't make the stupid mistakes, play good fundamental baseball, and put good at-bats together. You put good at-bats together, even if you don't score runs early on. It gets the pitch count of these relievers who are probably not going to throw a lot of pitches, especially if it's the trend that I think Roberts is going to go, knowing that he's starting Kopech for the game, is that he might go to his high leverage guys early and hoping that his offense scores, right? If that's the case, those guys aren't going to pitch a lot. They might go 2 innings if pitch count is good, but I don't think any of these big high leverage guys are going to throw more than 25 pitches, right? I think Dave Roberts is going to throw all his best guys out there early and hoping his offense scores early, and then it kind of works in his favor. But get to him early. Don't make the decisions easy for Dave Roberts. He had way too much of an easy series, in-game decisions in this series. Make him mess up his plan. Make him make the mistake in-game. That's what I want to see. He's done it every freaking year. He is not a good manager. We all know that. Have him make the mistake. That's what I want to see. Put the pressure on them early. Because what did I say against the Brewers? What did I say against the Phillies? There is history in the postseason with these teams. Negative history with these teams. The Mets don't make the playoffs enough to have a negative, year after year after year negative history. Okay? So we can talk about 2015. We can talk about 2006. It's far and few between. The history of these teams, especially recently, is the thought of what happened last year or the year before that starts to creep in their mind, because that's when they fall apart. The Phillies did it. The Brewers did it. As soon as you put that doubt in their mind and start to remember things that happened last year, when things started to went crazy and went negatively for them, they fell apart. That has been their history. That has been the Phillies' history. That has been the Brewers' history. And very recently, for a while, it's been the Dodgers' history. They have choked in the playoffs when they had everything going in their favor. This is the series where you can seriously say that the Dodgers have outplayed the Mets probably pretty far, but yet it's 3-2. So clearly, it hasn't been enough to knock us out. Get that mind of theirs thinking about all the shit that happened in previous years, how they lost games, how they lost series they shouldn't have lost. They shouldn't lose this series. This is what everybody's talking about. Rob Manfred is on his knees praying that it's Dodgers-Yankees. Make that not happen. Completely fuck up the entire plan of the Dodgers, of MLB. Fuck Fox and their ratings. Change everything. Make that plan go right out the window. Fuck them all. Because nobody wants us to win this series. Nobody. As much as around the country might hate the Dodgers, nobody wants the Mets to beat the Dodgers. Probably, maybe some Padre fans, maybe some Giant fans, as they're their hated rivals. But everybody else, they all want to see Dodgers and Yankees. Change it. Make it that much harder for them. I'd love to mess up the darling matchup. The matchup that they've been waiting for. Remember what Chris says? Change the narrative. That's what you got to do tonight, guys. Once again, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Amazing Mets pregame show. It's been outstanding viewership in this pregame today. Over 200, basically the entire stream. It's been an absolute fun pregame show. The Mets have an opportunity here to change the narrative once again, to stay alive for one more game, and they got their ace on the mound in Sean Manaea. We'll see you, me and Chris, we'll see you in the post-game show right after the game. We'll have our instant reactions, win or lose. But guys, feel confident. This team has overcome every obstacle every single time this season, right? Why can't they do it in a game 6 when their back's against the wall once again? Once again, guys, let them start thinking about years past and how they messed up and how they failed in the postseason and how they choked in the postseason. That is the goal tonight, guys. Work the counts, get them pitchers out of the game, make Dave Roberts make the mistake, make that change, the plan change. And I feel very good about the New York Mets winning tonight. Play your game, good fundamentals, limit the mistakes, and I feel very good about tonight's game. With that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. If you haven't hit that like button, please do. If you're on X, head over to the channel really quick and hit that like button as well. Again, guys, if you stay here for a second after the stream's over, it will redirect you to the post-game show. Hit that like button early. The more likes we get early, the more people are going to show up for the post-game, win or lose. With that said, enjoy the game, guys, in about an hour from now. Let's go, Mets, and I'll see you later tonight for the post-game, guys. Let's go, Mets.
In the dead of night, full of echo. Concrete jungle, dreams bust to grow. Mets in the air, chase glory, no fear. Broken backs, but hearts steer clear. OMG, the chaos, what a scene. Streets buzzing like a machine. Critters from the shadows, chills on my spine. Past haunts, the future shine. Comebacks in the night, keep dreams alive.